Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's session of Tech for Success. My name is Lauren Johns, and I am joined with my coworker, Mariana Glover. And today we are going to talk about preparing for virtual career fairs. So a lot of employers, a lot of companies and organizations are still hiring. It's still a very active hiring market. They've just moved the way that they are meeting with candidates to more of an online setting, an online approach. So we're going to see these virtual career fairs popping up here pretty frequently. And I think it's going to become something that is going to be one of those new normals for us. So we wanted to take a little bit of time today to chat with you about how to prepare for these types of career fairs and show you around our website where we have a bunch of different resources that you can check out.
And you know, Lauren, we kind of saw this coming, right? That employers were going to be doing this. It's so much more convenient to find talent from their own computer in the comfort of their office or home, instead of having to travel and having to deal with the cost of traveling, you know, whether it's food or whatever. So we saw this coming, but definitely with COVID-19, we are seeing this happening sooner. And so I think this is something that is going to stay. So we definitely want our students and our viewers to be prepared and just to know some of the simple tips that will help you have a successful networking experience with an employer, whether it is an interview or through a career fair setting.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump over here and see what we've got available for you here on the Career Center's website. So I'm just at careercenter.indianatech.edu. You'll see the additional portion of my hashtag here is job search prep. If you scroll down, you'll see a navigation bar, just so you know how I got here. You'll see a navigation bar here on the left-hand side. I am under job search resources. So when you come over to careercenter.indianatech.edu, click on this job search resources here on the left-hand side, and it'll jump you right here to the page. We're going to scroll down a bit. This is where a ton of resources are for you, and you'll probably see us here again on another Tech for Success series where we talk about some of these. But I'm just going to scroll here to this first blue box, searching for jobs and internships. And you'll see here an entire career fairs section. So I'm going to drop this open. And here you're going to find a pretty lengthy list of a variety of resources for you in preparing for career fairs. We've gone in here as well, and we'll navigate through a few of these today, and added some resources, some videos, and some links specifically for virtual career fairs. So we'll get to talking about those in a minute, but I want to reference this second link here, students, how to work a career fair. So I'm going to open this up. And this is a really handy document. Now, this was written for the initial intent was for an in-person career fair. However, many of these preparatory things that you can do, as well as things that you can do during and after the fair, can easily be adapted for these virtual career fairs. So we're going to walk through this here briefly and just give you some tips on things that you should be thinking about doing throughout this career fair process. So I'm going to start here with the before section. Before a career fair, this is really the time for you to do your research. Do your search on the employers that are going to be at the career fair. So when a virtual career fair is announced, just as if it were an in-person career fair, there are going to be emails that get sent out, social media posts that are out there, and information provided to you about the fair. And typically upon registration for the fair, if that's a part of it, you will be able to view the entire list of employers that will be attending the fair. Now, depending on the setup of that registration or of that list, you may be able to click on an employer's name and go right in through the fair website to find out some information about them. But you might come across a fair that's set up where it's just listing the names of the employers that are going to log in that day. So it's a really good idea before the fair to take a look at that list and take a look at those employers and do a little bit of searching on them. Look them up on LinkedIn, Google search them, go to their website, find out about them, about what they do and the types of positions that they are hiring for. So familiarize yourself with their industry, familiarize yourself with market trends that may be going on in the particular industry that you are seeking, and stay up to date on any current events that are going on in that particular field or maybe with that particular company. A lot of times when you're doing your research and you're searching for companies on LinkedIn or you're doing a Google search for them, you'll find where they may be mentioned in news articles or blog posts. So take a look at those. That's going to give you a lot of great insight into that organization. The next thing I want to mention for the online fairs is to make sure that you do pre-register. So some instances for virtual career fairs, you will find that there are registration deadlines for those fairs, or that if you wait till the very end, there may be kind of a backlog and you're trying to get logged into the site and you get kicked out and those types of things. So to avoid any sort of technical glitches or delays that may happen, go ahead and pre-register for those fairs. In many instances, that's how you're going to gain access to the list of employers that are going to be attending that fair. So do make sure to follow through with that pre-registration or registration process. I mentioned researching those employers, looking at their job opportunities. If there's something that piques your interest that you see posted that they have available to hire, that is a great talking point once you get into the fair, and we'll talk about that here in the next section. But start making a list, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document, of the employers that you want to chat with during that fair, and some of the positions that you've come across that you have an interest in with them. Okay. Next thing is about the resume. So even though these fairs are going to be virtual, it is going to be imperative that you have a resume tailored, at least for the purpose of the fair, tailored specifically to your industry and to the types of roles in general that you are seeking. Many times during career fairs, employers will make a mention of sending them your resume, or mention, hey, go ahead and upload your resume, email it to me, apply online. So you want to be a little bit ahead of the game on this and have already thought through that and started on that resume. In some of those virtual career fairs, I'm here in this next bullet point here, create your career portfolio. In some of the sites that we have used in the past, I know the upcoming career fair, Purdue Fort Wayne's using Career Echo. That particular site, for example, you pre-register for the fair, and then you can create a candidate profile in there, upload your resume, upload professional information about yourself. So do make sure to check for that as you're getting ready for the fair. And then rehearse the types of things that you are going to say. Think about your elevator speech. Some of these career fairs are going to be chat box only, so you're going to be typing responses to the employers. Others may be more of a Zoom or a team setting where you are virtually with your webcams talking face to face with those employers. So be prepared with an introductory statement, with that elevator pitch, who you are, what kinds of positions are you seeking, what types of opportunities are you looking for. And if you can tailor that a bit directly to that employer or company, that is going to be even more impressive. Think about typical interview questions, and also come up with specific questions that you want to ask those employers. So this is all things that you will want to do before you enter into that career fair that day. Look through and you can research, general interview questions for accounting positions. Even a simple Google search like that will come up with sample interview questions for you, as well as looking for questions that you may want to ask an employer, asking about their company after you've done your research, look them up on LinkedIn or Google search them. Come up with a few questions of interest to get that conversation going. It's going to show interest. It's going to show that you've done the work, and the employers are going to be really impressed by that. So let's move on to the during the career fair section. I'm going to turn it over to Mariana, and she's going to talk us through this one.
Thanks, Lauren. So now that we are at the fair, the first thing to remember is to arrive early. Obviously, for a virtual fair, you would want to log in with enough time so that you can check your computer and make sure that the link you have works just fine. You can set up where you're going to be. By this point, you should have already picked a location that is distraction free. There's no noises, because potentially you may end up having to turn on your camera if an employer chooses to have an interview on the spot or just wants to chat with you individually. So you want to have time to make sure that everything works. For your camera, you want to make sure that you position it in a way that it looks like the employer is looking right at your eye. A lot of times we see students that are using a laptop or using an iPad or a mobile, and because of how small the device is, sometimes they put it down and it kind of looks like the employer's just looking at your nostrils. Or if you set it up so high, it looks like they're looking down on you. So you want to make sure that you use books, that you use whatever you can to create a stand to put your device so that it's not moving or shaking if you're holding it with your hands. You set it up and it's looking right in front of you as if you were looking at the employer eye to eye. You want to test the light to make sure that you are visible. A lot of times we think that going in front of a window will provide the light that you need so that they can see you. But if the window's behind you, it's just going to create lightning that will make everything light except you. You're just going to be a shadow right in front of the computer. So make sure that you test the location and all of that before, and then that you have time to make any arrangements. Obviously, the audio would be another one. Make sure that you can hear and that they will be able to hear you as well. You may even want to test it with a friend or somebody. Just contact them through Skype or some other program just to test, make sure that your audio is working properly and your camera as well. So again, because you may end up having a interview or a private chat with an employer, you want to dress professionally. So just get ready, just like if you are going to an actual career fair, dress up like you would to see an employer, and that will also boost your confidence because you're looking the part and you're dressed up for this event. As you are having this communication with the employer, make sure that you're aware of your posture, that you're sitting up, properly, that you are making eye contact. And this is the part that can be a little bit complicated because we tend to look at the screen, at the person in front of us instead of the camera. So you want to make sure you're looking at the camera itself, because then the employer will see that you're giving eye contact. So just put a little sticky note on your computer to remind you to look at the camera, not the screen. Be mindful of your body language. They are going to be seeing the screen. So the way you move your hands, the way you speak, the way you move also communicates a lot. Sometimes even more than what you are actually saying in words. So just keep in mind of all of your nonverbals. I would recommend to have sticky notes to remind you of specific experiences or skills, talents, certificates, or anything that you've completed that you want to make sure that you share with employers. Again, just have key points on your computer that can kind of help you as you are either typing with employers or speaking to them through the computer. You, by this point, will have a resume already updated and digitally ready to be shared. So make sure that you have it saved in a place where it can be easily accessed, so that if an employer requests it, you can submit it with no problems. Make sure that you bring a notepad and a pen so that you can be making notes. You're going to be speaking to several employers, I would hope, so that you want to make sure that you're writing notes and that you keep every conversation separate, so that you're not combining them together and then you can't remember who told you to send your resume to, or who told you they had an opportunity, or somebody told you to check back at a certain time. So make sure that you're writing notes so that you keep everything straight, because after the fair, everything will look like just one big conversation. As Lauren mentioned earlier, you would want to get the list of employers and organizations that will be there. And at this point, you already know your game, you already know your strategy, you know who you're going to be engaging with at this point. So I would suggest maybe one or two companies that you're somewhat interested in, but not so much, just to kind of figure out the dynamics. It can be a little bit different when you are in a virtual setting, only because you go in, find the company, and then you are in this chat room with other applicants at the same time, and you're all asking questions, right, about opportunities, or what degree level do you need to have to be able to enter that company. And then at that point, if you are interested, the employer is interested, then you guys can move on to a private chat. So just kind of to get used to what it looks like being virtually, I would suggest finding one or two other companies that you're interested in, but they're not your top choice. And then after that, after you figure out all the little details, then you can move on to the companies that you're really wanting to make an impression on. Do keep in mind that some programs will limit the number of tabs that you can have open. So if you're speaking to employers, you may be only able to speak to 3 at a time, 5 at a time. And it is to help you so that you don't have way too many conversations going at the same time, and then you're leaving employers hanging there. So if they don't give you a limit, just make sure that you are keeping up with those conversations and just don't have too many that you can't really do anything with. Make sure you are, when you are asking questions, you will have a list. Make sure that you don't ask questions like, well, tell me about your company, because then that shows that you have not done any research. If you know the companies that will be there, you will be spending time on their website to find out what they do, where they're located, and you will be learning so much on your own that when you come to the career fair, you're asking very specific questions. So this is your way to for you to show them that you've done your research. Yep. So Lauren talked about the elevator pitch. This is where you will be delivering your elevator speech, whether it is in writing to get started as you're talking to employers, but also if they request an interview or a conversation in private with you on the spot, for you to be able to give that elevator pitch as soon as your camera turns on. So preparation goes a long way. If you've done all of that before, during the fair will be a little bit more natural. You will know what to do. You will know what to expect. So just make sure that you're smile, that you're approachable, and that you're just talking about you. Nobody else knows you better than yourself. So this is your time to just have a conversation and share with employers all the things that you've done, your experience, your education, anything outside of school that you are doing to gain more skills or to polish some of those skills that would be very relevant to the field and to the jobs that you may be applying to. Make sure that you are obtaining contact information from recruiters. Obviously, they're not in person. You cannot ask for a business card. But even just simply asking for an email address that you may be able to follow up with later on, or even going to their website to find all that information as well, will be helpful. But make sure that you keep names, the company, in either an email or a phone number so that you can, again, thank them later through an email for the time that they spent with you, to share maybe anything that you forgot to mention during the conversation that you had in email, thanking them. This will be the perfect time for you to add anything else that you want them to know that you forgot to mention. And so now that we talked about during the fair, let's move on to what happens after everything is said and done. And so I'll hand it back to Lauren for that part.
All right, so now that the fair is over, you've got a ton of information, right? So Mariana mentioned, making sure that you've got pen and paper there. You have a tab open on your computer, be taking notes and the various companies you've talked to and information that they've shared with you, jobs that they have suggested that you apply for, likely an overload of information. So it's going to be super important that immediately following the fair, don't wait to do this, but immediately following the fair, organize that information in whatever mode is best suited for you, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet where you're tracking each employer, the contact, the jobs, whether it's a Word document where you're, making headings and writing all of that out. Whatever works for you, make sure that you organize all of that information that you have collected. The next thing you're going to want to be sure to do is to follow up and thank those employers that you spoke with during that chat or during that virtual experience. You may not be, physically mailing a thank you note out to them at this point. They're, everyone's working remotely and virtually at this point. So an email is absolutely more than acceptable here in this particular case. But don't wait too long to do that. Employers are going to remember the candidates that they spoke to based off of those conversations, but then also based off of those that follow up and take that extra step and say, hey, it was great talking with you at the virtual career fair today. And like Mariana mentioned, use this as an opportunity to personalize it, to bring in something that maybe you and the employer spoke about during your virtual conversation, to highlight a skill of particular interest that you want them to remember about you, and let them know that you're really looking forward to future opportunities with them. After that, applications. So as you're talking to these employers and they're talking to you about open positions that they have, go in and apply for those. This is somewhat time sensitive. Employers are still hiring, so don't wait too long after this virtual career fair to go in and apply for the positions that interested you and the positions that you spoke about with the employers. You'll want to make sure that your resume is highly tailored to each of those positions that you're applying for. So if you spoke with 2 or 3 employers during this virtual career fair, those 2 or 3 employers should not be getting the exact same resume from you. That resume should be tailored specifically to that employer and that specific position that you will be applying for. And then after you've applied, maybe a week or so later, do a follow-up with the employer. Say, hey, I spoke with you at the virtual career fair on such and such date, and I've submitted my application. I just wanted to follow up with you and thank you again for the opportunity. I look forward to hearing back on my application, something along those lines. Timelines right now for applications and employers conducting interviews are sort of all over the place. So, it's going to be kind of hard to say how quickly you should expect to hear back from an employer. Give them a little bit of grace because they are all kind of navigating this new fully virtual world as well. So, a week, 2 weeks would be perfectly acceptable in terms of a general idea, but know that that is going to vary by employer. And lastly, really it's about making a positive impression. Just as you would face-to-face with someone walking through a fair and meeting face-to-face, it is just as important in this virtual setting to make a great impression. And so if you follow all of these tips and these ideas that we've given you today, that's really going to hit home with employers. They're going to be very impressed with you, and you're going to stand out. So definitely take the time here. It is certainly going to be worth it.
All right, so for the next part, we would just like to show you the additional resources that we have on our website. So if you get back where we show you what the career fair section is, you will see all of these resources. Some of them are handouts as the one that we showed you. And then we also have videos for those of you that are very visual, like myself. So for the videos, we're going to show you one of them, 10 tips to impress at a virtual career fair, just to kind of show you how short and just to the point they are, and then also to show you this other platform where we keep a lot of videos. So let's play this one for you.
We'll be talking about virtual career fairs and sharing 10 tips for preparing for and acing your virtual fair. Tip number 1, make sure to register ahead of time to avoid any last-minute issues. Number 2, research participating companies, plan out your event, and prepare some relevant questions. Number 3, prepare the environment, meaning check your technology, like your computer, your camera, and microphone, to make sure they'll all work when the time comes. You'll also want to choose a clean, quiet, and distraction-free location for the event. If you need to clean up ahead of time, do it. And finally, you should dress professionally in case it's a video chat. Tip number 4, update your resume and have it on hand. It's not a bad idea to tailor your resume to the jobs that you found to be a fit during your research. Also, update your social media profiles, as those may be of interest to recruiters. Tip number 5, practice your pitch. Who are you? What are you looking for? And why is this company of interest to you? This can be thought of as an interview, so prepare to answer interview-like questions. Number 6, have the right mindset. Be enthusiastic and responsive because you want to be remembered. Practice good body language by sitting up straight and making eye contact if video is being used. Number 7, if communicating via text, make sure to use full professional sentences, proper grammar, and limit the use of emoticons or abbreviations. Number 8, recruiters will be very busy, so don't keep reaching out to them if they don't immediately respond to your chat request. They will eventually respond. Tip number 9, you'll want to upload a full profile to the fair, as in a photo, a resume, and any additional information that they may ask for. And finally, tip number 10, take notes during your chat, ask about next steps, and send thank you notes the next day. Hi.
And that is a really good point as well, to make sure that you're using proper grammar. I think we're used to being on our phones, talking to our friends, on social media. So a lot of times we use abbreviations and just slang that everybody gets, right? But when we are talking to employers, we want to make sure that we are writing just the way that we would speak to a professional, because they're going to see your writing skills, and that is a very important skill to have nowadays. Again, because a lot of us are using text messaging and social media and how we talk to our friends, and we are pretty laid back. So this is a very important skill to have. So get used to it, practice, and make sure that you are using full sentences. So this platform that we're on right now is called Candid Career. And this is a resource that we have purchased for our students. Under Get Hire, we have several categories that you can go in and find videos based on what you're looking for. For our case today, we are wanting to know about career fairs in a virtual setting and potential virtual interviews. So if you would go here to the more button here, you will bring the entire library with the different categories. So here you can see there's behavioral interviews, career exploration. You'll find even some on LinkedIn, resume building, regular career fairs, all kinds of things. But the one that we're looking at, as I mentioned, would be the virtual career fairs, which is all the way at the bottom here, and virtual interviewing. So any of you that's interested in learning more through videos, I would suggest going into these categories and going through the videos. And just so you know, these are employers, these are professionals that are teaching the videos. So it's not just random people. But just here's another resource where you can go and learn more as you are preparing for different things. So that's all I got. If there are any questions, let us know. We are here to help.
I'm going to pop over here and see if we had any questions in our chat today. And it doesn't look like that. So thanks again for taking the time to join us today for our virtual career fair prep presentation. Again, if you have any questions and you want to reach out to us, please feel free to email us, contact us through our virtual front desk. We are more than happy to help. I do see a question here about the recording for the session today. Absolutely, this is going to be uploaded to the Career Center YouTube channel. So you can pop over there and this will be uploaded likely later today.
Mm-hmm. Yep, if you go to YouTube and just look for Indiana Tech Career Center, our channel will pop up and you will find all the series that we have been doing. So make sure that you look at that as well. Hear from employers, hear from alumni, from professionals, talking about the various topics. So definitely that should be available by this afternoon.
All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.